Hello, hello. Hello on a Monday. Going live and waiting to see who might show up. Had a couple requests that came in on a video that I did a couple weeks back where there were some questions on being able to create a league from scratch. So I thought maybe I'd cover that. Manager pictures. I know there was an exchange where someone was trying to get manager photos to show up. And then thought I'll spend this time and update a couple of my projects. Haven't done too much work on the all-time great basketball one, but I have done quite a bit on the basketball all-time greats based on the best 3 to 4 years. And I think I'm up over 330 players done, and that includes having them built into the action file and photos for all those players. So I think I'll double check it here when I fire that up, but let's take a peek at that while we wait for folks to come in. And midlife crisis is here. Good to see you. Joe Murdy's here. Good to see you, Joe. I am at, let's take a look here. Oops, I want to go check my database. I think I'm over 330. Let's see what I got. 334 players are complete as of right now. Trying to figure out how to categorize them and put them on the right franchise. For example, there's some ABA greats. So when I've created those, if I'm using the majority of the years from the ABA, I'm assigning them to that. And I just set up a couple different era teams here. And you'll notice with action, one thing that you can see is when you modify a player, create them or modify them, you've got the option here to choose men or women. And you'll notice you can have pro, college, Olympic team, or ABA. This is where you can distinguish what league they put their numbers up in. So I've got several pretty much ABA dominant players that didn't have much of a either zero or hardly any years in the NBA. And let's take a look. I don't know if I've set up this one. Yeah, I think I should have the photos showing in this one. You can see. Let me run the photo. One thing you can do is when you load your photos in any of the games, under the tools, I always use first underscore last, so I can check this tool and then just run this league wide. You could also do it team by team. So it's going to go to the name. We go in here under one of my ABA teams and you can see it's auto assigned. If I go under the team and want to edit player photos, this is a great place to come in. You can see I've already edited uniform numbers and any nicknames, but I've given anywhere from 3 to 4 or 5 photo options. So if you come in here, here's Byron Beck, and it's auto going to default to the underscore, but I always put a number behind it in case you wanted to, use a different photo or anything like that. Mel Daniels here, Donnie Freeman. You can see it's grabbing that first photo. So those are showing up. And same thing with this team here for 71 to 75. The other thing with this is it's not really assembling these teams to play. It's a way to categorize them and search the file, because my ultimate goal when I'm done with this is to present it in a draft file, meaning having one where they're all free agents already, and you could use this almost like you do in baseball or football for the all-time history collection, where you can then just import and have draft leagues. And then I can also have an option where I have them assembled on the franchise that the majority of the years I'm using come from. So, if you look at Boston here, you can see we've got, usual folks there on the Boston team: Havlicek, Parrish, Pierce. Here's Cleveland. So I'm building up. I'm getting there. 340 done. So let's see what questions we've got here. Joe says, starting to think about action football for some limited stuff that I can't do with the other game I have, mostly college and pre-50. Yeah. Um, I've for action, I spent a lot of time doing my 5-year file, meaning a team's best 5-year run and taking a player's best 2 straight years in that mix, and did a lot of work with that. Like I've done for baseball and basketball, I've got a football file that I haven't touched since last year, but whenever I get bored or the season changes, I can always um, move on over and work on that. And if you don't know this, Joe, there's a great sale going on right now at Action. So let's take a look at that. I haven't been over there to see all the particulars, but if we look at Action right now and go to the shop, the football game, the deluxe game is on sale right now, and I think Football Seasons Pro. See what we got. See what you're looking for here. College and pre 1950. So let's take a look at pre 1940 to 1959 football seasons. Look, they're almost half price. Some of these are $6, $7. It's pretty much like a half price sale going on right now. So it'd be a great time. Hey, Big Clue, good to see you. It'd be a great time right now if you're thinking about basketball and you don't own the game to get it, and then load up on some of these seasons when they're on sale like this, because a lot of cool seasons. Let's take a look at college. I do know, I think the college only goes back so far, and then there's a lot of homebrew available for college football. So college, yeah, 95 to present. It's pretty much what Action has done, and then there's a ton of homebrew stuff out there at the action sports community. Um, Started the prep the other day for a future project involving cross-era players. It's going to be time consuming, so I'm doing a little at a time. And midlife, tell us what sport. I'm going to assume baseball, right? Because we usually talk baseball until I take us off on another path with basketball or something. Yeah, interesting clue, right? Yeah, baseball does tend to have a more nostalgic look back at the past for sure. Let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, seems to be just like a football sale. But yeah, the game's on sale, so you might want to pick it up. So anyway, just having fun with this basketball file. I will pull up baseball. Shut this down and bring up baseball. So midlife says ran into couldn't figure out how to affix a specific year or era to the league. I know you've covered it before, but want to watch to see how we do it. So let me cover it right here. Let's grab. I just happen to have up MV's Daddy 66, which was our uh, custom league that we did, right? And so we can use this as kind of a test run to take a look at how we set things up. So if we want to take a look at what we've done to set this up, let's take a look at our rules. Go right to our rules screen. You can see here's another cool thing. We have a Howie Shanks logo that Beatles did. And league name. We've another important one right here. Locate photos in subfolder. That means you're going to go into your player photo and look for the league folder that has a specific name to dump the photos in. That's something when you check this box, it's going to want to look for the photos in the subfolder that's the same name as the league. We've got that going on. Let's take a look at general. So here's our league era. We are using the standard batter pitcher, which means if Let's take a look at these pictures here. Let's say Juan Marichal was based on 1962, and he's assigned to that. It will take a look at Juan Marichal as the pitcher, his era that he came from, and it will look at the batter that comes to the plate. Let's say it's Sammy Sosa in 1996, and it will take the 1962 National League and the 2000 and what did I say? 2006, 1996, and it will take those numbers and average them. That's exactly what this means. Now, this is standard on any league replay because it makes sense to have it here because the batter and pitcher are in the same league, so it's going to be the same. If you wanted to get really specific, you could put it in a specific league and year, meaning we want the league to be based off of 1921, but you can't pick 1922 and average both. It'd be, I got to either pick 1922 National or 1922 American. So we just chose to go with standard batter pitcher average. The other thing you could do for the era or style of baseball you're playing in is this: cross historical average. That basically takes all the eras, adds up all the numbers for each line, and then divides them by the number of years. So when you go into organize up here, and only do this if you feel comfortable because you'll get a warning, historical era data. When you go in here, so you can add custom eras here, but we go in here, you'll notice, let's pick one here. 1915. You've got different eras. You've got National League, American League, Federal League, and Negro League data. So if you added up all of these years, let's take a look at a hitter year. 1930 National. Okay, it's a 303 batting average. This gives you all the basically the style of play, right? Percentages of walks per 1,000 at bats and all that. So if you've got a pitcher in 1930, it's going to take all this information, and if their batter is in 1992, it's going to take this information. Well, if they were in the American League, it'd look over here. Sometimes there's slight differences, and it'll average those two. So that's what standard batter pitcher average means. When you're in a league replay, like replaying the 1952 as played season, doesn't matter. You leave it on that setting because they both come from, the numbers are there, right? So hopefully that helps explain it. And cross historical is just if you added all these up and average that out. But you can see here, home runs 19.2 here in 92, 32.4 in 2008. So you can watch that home runs per 1,000 at bats, 19, 20, 23, 21, 19, 25. Here we go. 27, and then we start cranking it up. You know what I mean? That now it's getting crazy. We're launching balls. So you can see the different style at play here with the changes in eras. Same as strikeout percentage. 195 strikeouts in 1,000 at bats in the 2000s. Let's go back to in the 30s. That 195 more than cut in half. So this has all the good relevant data in here, but you can set up your league however you want to run it. You can assign it to, 1988 American or National League. You can let, what we did is it's kind of cool. You just let where the pitcher comes from and the batter and those two eras and let it make the average. Or you could have said, give me the all-time cross historical average. The one thing I wish Action would do with baseball is provide decades, meaning I don't want to play, for example, like if you came down here and take a look at a few of these here. So let's go to National League, right? Let's say in the 2000s, watch these numbers change, right? 265 average, 33 home runs, right? What I would love them to do is find 2000 to 09, take those 10 years and average those out and have more options so that when you come over here under rules, you could say, I want to set the league to pitcher average, cross historical, or 1970s, 1980s. I would love to see those added as options. In fact, I ought to elevate that. So that would be cool because then you could play an average 70 style rather than having to put it in one 70 season. Basketball, I'll pull that up, has that. And I think that's great because if we go into basketball under rules, I can do some similar things here, right here. Blended offensive and defensive era, average historical, or I can set it to 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So that's kind of a cool option. It'd be nice to, it's interesting to see when Action brings in some of the other games features and then mixes it with the others and then they all get better. So I'd love to see that as an option in baseball. Um, Roos, a team of Roos versus a team of Joe Morgan. They normalized the fielding and used all-time great pitching staff to each team. Interesting. Legends, great to see you. One thing somebody brought up was manager photos. And let me show you why they're a little bit different. So you can see here, if we go to a roster, let's pick up mine. Let's pick up MV's. Should have asked MV to submit a picture. We could have put a team picture because we've got MV's logo here. So if we go over here to modify team, I can change the names, time zone, all that good stuff. We can say view manager photos. So I'm going to look at all the manager photos I have. I guess I may not have any photos in on this one. So here's what will happen. It is going to look for MV. So whatever name you give it here, it's going to be slightly different than, let me go pull one up that, let me get my 5-year file. Okay, I'll give you an example here. Here's my 5-year franchise file, NL, I think, okay? And you can see what I've done here is I've gone in, let's take Cincinnati, 38, and I've got a photograph here of Bill McKechnie. So how did I get that in the game? Well, I went over here, and you'll notice the name is Bill. It's not this. That would change things, right? I use the first name underscore last name for my photos, but the managers, I just type in the real name. So it's going to look for this same format with no underline, underscore in between. So you can see here, if I go to manager, you see what other files I got. I don't know why I'm not, oh, you know what it is? Trying to see if I may not have the photos in the right spot for that. I just take my manager file, I put it right into where I keep all the player photos, which is DK Sports, baseball, player photos, and we'll see. Oh, where's Bill McKechnie? I've got so many iterations of these backups. Yeah, now I have no idea where I put that. So let me go back. See where the heck I put that. Yeah, I've made another copy of this one, and I must have the 5-year franchise save where I don't have the player photos in. But if you can't get the manager file, you put them in your player photo, and then just make sure when you go in here, whatever you've named the manager, if there's no underscore, like you just say Bill Terry, then it's going to look for Bill Terry. But you can typically, if you've got your player photos there, search throughout and then load them in. And this one, I think, I'm trying to remember what rule I had, so maybe I'll turn the rule off. There we go. There's the photos. So now I've got my photos showing. And if I wanted to go and modify team, got all my good stuff here. And player photos, away we go. Now I can see all of them in there and search. And you'll notice, if I get under here, you'll see Sparky Anderson listed in there. Got a lot of Steves. Got another Sparky. There you go. So I've got Sparky Anderson here, underscore. So when I went in here, I had to click on that. It wouldn't auto show up. So if you saved your managers with that underscore, they won't auto show up. You'll have to go in manually. And at this section right here, click your manager and then view available photos like this. And you'll scroll through all of your player photos and then find the one you want. So, I've got different versions. I've got Sparky Anderson right here, a couple with the Tigers. I got one with the Reds and a second one. So I use this as a little bit earlier picture. And then when I go to my other Reds that are 68 to 72, you can see I use the earlier Sparky photo right there. So you can have them numbered, and then it's just manually assigning different ones if you want. Use whatever you code you want after them if you have multiple pictures. But a lot of times it'll auto look for Sparky, no underscore Anderson, and if you put your picture in, name that, it would auto load. If you follow the same format as your players, you're going to have to manually go in. What's up, Arnold? Arnold, I'll tell you what you missed. I got 330 some of the NBA, ABA greats done, all with pictures. So I'm up to 330 something. That's one thing. Oh, is it CPU's it? So I got this desktop last year and I was using it in my golf simulator. And then I just swapped out and I brought this up here because this has got like an i5, an 11600 or 11400 i5, and it's got a uh, what is it? The RTX 3060 card. Yeah, and it's pretty quick. I definitely like it. Hey, good to see you, Bernard. So yeah, here's that's some just basic photo type stuff that you can look at. I'll share one interesting thing, and I'm going to send this off to Action because as I start assembling this project here, after I'll run the default salaries. So I'll come in here where I can generate some default ratings, and then one of them is salary. So one of the things that I'm looking at here is, okay, who's going to be the highest? I mean, there's different things you can use, Tendex, player efficiency to figure out, okay, which player really stands out and how does the salary system within Action, I guess, put a reasonable value based on the players, right? So you can see here, this is based on their average of the years I'm using scoring. Of course, these are, look how many people we've got. Several people here that are 30 plus a game scores. Some of them are going to be rated higher because, they're better defenders. They're, they can, their assist ratings are higher, all that good stuff, rebounding. What I find interesting is, I'm going to talk about an underrated person in a way. So let's look at this. Reports, league. Let's look at top salaries. So here's the top salaries in the league. Look at Kevin Durant, 43 million, and then Karl Malone's at 34. So you can see, the top 10 there with Oscar Robertson up. No surprise that these should be some of your higher paid. But what's amazing to me is that Durant is almost, well, he's 9 million more valuable than a Karl Malone or a Jordan. And I'm like, well, how is it? What algorithm does the game use to determine that? Because if we look at some other things like these reports are great, by the way, here. Leaders. So here's the leaders. I think I can make this one bigger too. I wish baseball, every one of the menus or screens will let you drag and make it bigger. Some do, some don't, but I love this. So here is the 300 and some players I built in so far. You can kind of see based on real stats and that the leaders. Special, this gives you, that uses player efficiency rating and Tendex, which are a couple different methods. Player efficiency, Kevin Durant nowhere on this. Tendex, nowhere on this. However, there he is. He's top 12 in scoring. However, he's 9 million more valuable than the next player. So I'm going to send that off to headquarters and see what they have to say about that, because it's like, I just can't see the logic. I can't figure out why he's given that high of a salary over a Chamberlain or a Jordan. Of course, we don't have any real stats. These are only for replay here, but this does break down 2-point, 3-point percentage, free throw. Looking at some of the Of course, these are all replay stuff. Defensive, fouls. This is kind of a nice view. Then you want to look per 48, so you can kind of see the rate at which people do things. So here's another one that stands out to me. Ellis, Dale Ellis with Seattle. I mean, he's putting up more points per minute on the floor than anybody. Crazy when you look at that. Oh, and Arnold, I'm going to take a look here and see how many more teams. Arnold's doing the play testing for me, and he set up the 8 teams that my first file I sent him that had enough players to really constitute a team, the franchises. And he's been doing a little summer league challenge, and I can tell you now I'm getting a little bit better with the roster. So Chicago, I can't remember if they were one of the teams, has got enough to field a team, right, to replay. Philadelphia definitely does, and I don't think Philadelphia did when I sent you your file, Arnold. So I'm going to get you another one so this weekend you can play. So there's 2 of the teams. Boston has enough now. Detroit has enough. New York, yeah, they got enough. We got 11 or 12 players there. New Jersey, Brooklyn, not enough yet. Utah, New Orleans, not there. The Lakers do. Phoenix, maybe. Cleveland, yes. In fact, I got quite a few for Cleveland. Portland Trailblazers, maybe. Seattle's got a pretty good team on here. Atlanta's been built out quite a bit. The Bullets are getting close. Miami kind of just started that one. Milwaukee's got a deep deep team to play games with. Minnesota just got two: Kevin Garnett and Love. Orlando, getting close. Indiana, I got a lot of work to do on them. San Antonio, Philadelphia Warriors, before they were San Francisco Warriors. That's that team that's got Barry and Chamberlain. I'm not sure if you've had enough with them. Denver, I've only a handful. Cincinnati, Kansas City, Sacramento, getting more there. Houston, you could play with. Buffalo, San Diego, LA, the Clippers, they're ready to go. Mavericks aren't quite there. Toronto's only got a couple: Vince Carter and Doug Christie. Vancouver, Memphis Grizzlies, I've just got Jason Williams. New Orleans, I've just got Chris Paul created. And then these are the two, Arnold, just so you're aware. These are players that had the majority of the years I'm using fall in the NBA. There's some people there like Dr. J, Rick Barry, a few others where there's one or two of their 3 or 4 seasons were used. That I went ahead and normalized those to the NBA season and then just assigned them to the NBA team. But these are players here, 67 to 70, and like Roger Brown, Steve Jones, Freddie Lewis, Cincy Powell, that were pretty much all ABA players. So now we've got those created. The nice thing, the game lets you tell it where it came from. So when you go over here for player type, it lets you select ABA player, man or woman. And so I've got those set up ready to go. So I've got 2 teams of ABA players, one earlier and one a little bit later in the 70s. This one has quite a few players on it. You can see here, Ralph Simpson, Matt Calvin, Ron Boone. And it's taken me a little bit longer with ABA players. There's not as many photos available. They're harder to find, and it's even harder to find good quality in color. So I've had to spend quite a bit of time the last week getting these photos to a place where they weren't horrible, is what I'll say. So you can see here, that's been a little bit slow going, I guess. But my thing is I'm caught up now to where all my players that I've got data for have been created in the game, and I have the player photo packs ready to go. So this has been fun. Do you know the next game coming out in August, if they're going to update and smooth out the animations? I love the stats portion. I hope, Chris, I just this year with this one, well, last year it with basketball, and then this version, I started using the actual kind of video chalkboard more, and I like it. It seems to have enough flow where I'm actually using it now and enjoying it. Up till last year, I didn't use it. I just tended to love to read I would have fast text on, and I would just read the text. I just never really found the video to be good. Now I enjoy the video and having the ball movement. I didn't even have the ball movement on before. I would just read text. And yeah, I agree. I hope that gets smoother with all the games, including hockey, which I haven't even touched in months and months. But yeah, I'm anxious to see. And I know that it'll be out at the end of August or the beginning of September, but I'm not a beta tester for basketball, and I haven't heard any, word on that or anything, if kind of what's going on. I ought to offer, because since I'm doing this basketball project, I did have one thing. So if you go over here, unlike baseball, if I'm doing work on a team like here's the Mavericks, and I wanted to go into here and say edit statistics, there is no option here to delete this entire spreadsheet. Never has been for basketball. So you have to go in here and delete them all one by one. It's a pain in the butt. So I reached out to Action. Hey, MV. And Action said that sounded like an easy fix for the upcoming one. So I'd love to see, I do a ton of home brewing, and I'll import players and then delete their stats and retype in stuff. It'll be a big time saver if they can have that tool to clear the spreadsheet. All the other games have, well, baseball has that. Football is a little bit different. They all approach this screen a little bit different. One thing I also love about basketball, um, you can see down here, you can set depth for all the situational lineups. And the computer does a great job of your depth chart. It looks at ratings, but it's also going to look at games played in minutes, right? To try to figure out who's going to get the start over on an all-star thing like this, or an all-time greats team. It might opt to start somebody that had a few more minutes played than the better point guard. So, I can tell you, I'm putting Derek Harper in over Brad Davis. So there are some manual things you can do. You can come over here and just move it around and create your own. You can let the computer do it to start, create your own. The other thing I love here is if you want to get down to actually how you rotate people, you can come over here and create your own rotation, like for each minute of the period. So if you wanted to split time like on an all-time greats here, I could come in here and say, let me pick a full team. Let's go over here to Buffalo. I could come over here and let's say, who have I got? I can put Randy Smith and see minute cycle, 6-minute cycles. Or I could say, hey, I want to do 10-minute cycles, and then my point guard, Di Gregorio, right there, bam, and it fills in the first 10 minutes. So I could set up a plan for each quarter on how to rotate the game, how to manage the game, kind of alternate the subs. This is also something you could do. Or if you don't want to do it, you could come over here and let the computer set up a rotation grid for you. So not only does it just look at this and say, okay, here's my depth, but this gets down to how many minutes per and which minutes do you want to have them play? And then you can get in here and change that. So this was probably the first game when I was in that I had of action. And we used to do a league where we would send files off and then I think was the away team played the games. Can't remember. I was in the Chuck Taylor All-Star Basketball League, which is still going on to this day. And we started in like 1965, I think, and drafted and then went forward. But it's really amazing how you can go in here and really set up per quarter the rotation options you want. It's very easy to do if you want to get that deep. The other thing you can do is right from this screen here, you can go in here, modify your team, do all the normal fun stuff, game plan, which means you can look at different general setting, right? How much do you want to fast break? How much do you want to drive? Your pace. Do you want to, shoot quick, or do you want to like milk the shot clock? Things like that. You can have matchups you can set. So you can look at your opponents, and similar like we do with the analysis tool, right? You can figure out how you want to modify your defense, all that good stuff. So there are a lot of options in the basketball game that come in handy when you're doing a league, whether it's a head-to-head league or one where you just send your computer manager off and then one of the players, plays against that manager. You have your player usage tab. You can go right here. And here's another thing that I like. So let's take a look at this draft team here with Buffalo. I can go in here and it's showing the preferred positions that I have them rated for. And you can see this means that's over. That means they're going to, if it shows red, that means they're scheduled to play more minutes than their stamina allows. So you could come in here and say, well, there's Jelly Bean Joe Bryant, Kobe's dad, right? I could take that down to 20. And just, you could put target minutes on these. Lloyd, later World B free, right? Gary Grant, let's take him down to maybe 20 minutes a game and say, what are the target minutes you want these players to have? Bob McAdoo, yeah, we can put him at 40. Yeah, it's fine. Norm Nixon, there you go. So now when you've got that preferred game, how many minutes per game, then you can run computer depth and you can go over here and let CPU set the grid. And not only will it manage how you want to do it, but it's also going to try to manage those players so that they're not exceeding those numbers. So there's a lot of tweaking, playing around you can do in there. Wow. What else we got going here? It's 1960. What season are you playing now? I'm not in that one, Clue. In fact, let me find that. They've got to be on the. See, I know they used to have a league. Let's take a look. Chuck, you got to reach out to these guys. This was a fun league. Chuck Taylor All Star Basketball League. Let's see. Currently in 1986-87, we started with 65-66. Take a look at the historical stats. There we go. All-time franchise records. I had it's cool. Look how they do this page. They've got career leaders. It's really a well-run league. Total points scored, single season leaders. Pretty cool how they've done that. But they've been running that league for since the 1965-66 season. And MVP, Coach of the Year. Yes, I was there the first 3 or 4 years. So hey, I won 2 of the first 3 years. I had Bill Russell and Sam Jones on my team, and I probably was in the league up until about the '69 season, and then I was traveling so much for work I couldn't even keep up with it and had to leave. But this is a great, um, just a great league. But it was fun because we learned a ton about the game in having to set up kind of your rotations and all that good stuff. Yeah, Clue. It'd be a matter of picking a year to start and then just draft clean and I think in that league you got to keep the majority of your players, or about 75% of them. I'm trying to remember. We had 15-man rosters, 12 were active, but I think we only protected 7 or 8 year to year, something like that. So you had a little bit of feeling of, you know, consistency from team to team, but there was a chance then with that. So that's a fun way to do a league for sure. But yeah, I'm enjoying this project, digging deep into that. The cards have been a blast, I have to say. So I've done, um, take a look at some of these that I've got in here. So yeah, but just had fun with these. I've got the NBA logo, or ABA if it's an ABA player. Elgin Baylor here. I've got this little Basketball Hall of Fame logo that I'm dropping on there. So I got, usually for the Hall of Famers, I usually try to get 4 or 5 or more photos. And I'm trying to get players that played for different teams, like Elmore Smith, you hear? So I've got one here with Milwaukee. There's Lakers, a couple with Cleveland. Elvin Hayes. I think there's one with the San Diego Rockets before they went, and then one with the Houston Rockets. Di Gregorio, the other Irvin Johnson, not the Magic one, right? Here's an ABA one that's trying to find photos for Fatty Taylor, and they're just hard to come by. And then having to run them through a converter to get, like I had to get this one enhanced and put some color on it, make it look better. Foots Walker. So having fun with those. Yeah, look at Arnold. He found, yeah, what do you, if you've got, this is my problem with me too. When all there was cards and dice, I loved it. And I used to love getting a pencil out and tracking my own stats. I loved it. It was probably one of the most fun things I loved as much as playing the game. But the problem is then once I went over and all of that's at my fingertips and I don't have to look for papers and the speed and the data that's here, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't, to me, the only thing I could see going back to cards and dice is to sit down and spend like an hour and just immerse myself in one game. or at the most, like over the course of a few days, doing a series that would be fun, right? But to like do a season replay or a project, it would make me wonder I'd never get done. Just too much of an undertaking. But I could see sitting down like in a head-to-head game and rolling against a friend, or just saying, "Hey, I'm going to spend this weekend and I'm going to do, I'm going to roll a World Series or whatever." I mean, to me that makes sense. It's just different. But with what I do, cards and dice doesn't lend itself. I couldn't imagine, you know, not being able to create these what ifs so easily using, and that's why action's so good because it lets me edit. There's some other games out there that are good, but it's harder to get in there and edit, right? Um, so yeah, good old Frank Brakowski here, the multi hairdos of him and downtown Freddie Brown. So it's been a blast for me. There's some ABA pictures for Freddie Lewis. This has been a blast for me just putting this one together. Um, have you created Pee Wee Kirkland? Who is Pee Wee Kirkland? Let's do it. Is there anybody? Is it Rich Pee Wee Kirkland? Oh my gosh, I don't even see any stats. What's the story here, MV? First pick in the 20th round for the Bulls. What is going on with Pee Wee Kirkland? Drafted and never played? Let's click on Norfolk State. This is another nice thing when you pop around here. We can see players who played for Norfolk State. Ray Dandridge. Oh, there you go. It's that, yeah, it's Big Daddy is his file. I guess Big Daddy is here. Uh, MV, just so you know, I don't think Clue wants that nickname to stick. There's something he has. He has an issue with the whole term Big Daddy anyway. But would it be straightforward to create? Hmm. Well, let's take a look. If we go to be hard. A lot of the data, see the data's not there. That's the problem. So with some of the teams, like if you go over here to, let me see. Oh, let me go on the college site. Let's try this. They've got a lot of good data. Norfolk State. Man, let's start taking a look. Let's see what we've got here. Norfolk State. Yep, I'm not finding Kirkland. Let's see. He went to Norfolk State, but we don't have anything going back farther than 93 for them. Some of the teams, it's pretty cool. We do. So, for example, if we look at Maryland, SEC has, or the ACC has really good stats. I'll forget. Take a look at Kansas. If we go back to Kansas school history, you can see here. Let's go back, see how far we go back. 1972, 73. We have some data, and this is where it gets sketchy. Some of the early stuff is tough. Um, we've got totals here. Let's see how early we can go back. 52, 53. There we go. Some of this data is missing, but you can see that before this was put into a nice format, they the sources were scanned in here of where they got these from, which is a ton of like school records that were kept to try to find some statistical information on these. I loved this old stuff. I used a ton of other resources before this was available to do my college grades, and I sat off trying to recreate the 85, 86 season years ago and did a lot of work, and then I stopped. And then some other folks were doing their own stuff at the Action PC sports community and the sports replay, Field of Dreams. They had made some really good homebrews out there with old college seasons. Ah, the fun stuff, right? Football. Oh, it had Beatles isn't here, so I don't have to worry about cussing and saying football in front of me, right? Um, the football is great too because I'm thinking of taking my current project and going back and doing the football the same way as I'm doing basketball and baseball because I have the 5 year approach. And with the football game, what's funny is I've got the newest edition of the football game, and I don't think I spent about 30 minutes digging through it and seeing a few different things that they've done, and I haven't touched it because, like Arnold says, you got all these action games. He doesn't touch his cards and dice stuff, and then I'm sitting around here thinking, okay, I've got these nice digital games, but I can only do one at a time. So here's a football history collection. Take a look at seasons I've got in here. One of the seasons I have is what do I call my 1970s? Okay, 70s best. This is when I just tried to take the decade and average a player's best 3 years for that team in the decade. And so I've got a 70s best. And this was set up with, I think, the 1978 schedule, if I remember, when I went in and set this up. So if we're looking at the 70s, I don't know, let's pick a team, Pittsburgh. So you can see here we've got anybody that qualified on there. So I've got 61 players on this roster. So there's quite a few players on this team. I've even got photos for them. Joe Green and Greenwood, offensive line. Ton of work into this. These are a ton of work because of this many. Look, you've got 50, 60 players per team, and then photos and all the ratings and everything. The football can take longer. Baseball's next. Basketball to me is easy because of the roster size. But yeah, this was a fun file. San Francisco in the 70s. No Joe Montana yet. Got Delvin Williams on there. Jimmy Johnson. So this is a fun one here. Where's my Lions here? All the offensive players, all the quarterbacks. But yeah, it's a little bit different when you go to edit. Like if I'm going to edit running backs, if I go up to edit, I can edit their offensive stats. Brings up a different format, but you'll notice here as well, no button to clear all the spreadsheet and re-enter stuff. So there, you can go through and edit sheet by sheet as to what these different players have. Or an easy way to do it is you can come right on here and just right click and modify it player by player. And then you can put in anything that you want right here. So for example, you can put in their If they've got rushing yards, receiving, or if they play defense as well, you can get in here and put their defensive information if you got it. So each one of the games lets you do editing, but they all have their own unique approach to the tables and how you can edit and where you can do it from. And they all have their own ways for me because I do so much manual input. They have their own, I guess, approach that I found to be the fastest, but it's still a ton of data entry, but it's fun. So that's the 70s file with basketball. We can see the basketball rules, just like in the other one. You'll be able to set many things. You'll tell it what year you want to use the rules, right? Because all the rules change. Set up your sudden death, all that good stuff. League structure right here. Same thing with game era. Just like basketball, I love you can do standard offensive, defensive, historical average, or you can pick the style of the decade. So now that I think about it, I'm going to send Action a note and ask Dave Cook if, hey, can we add for eras in baseball, average like 1970s AL, 1980s? Can he expand that? Because I think that would be cool for some league replays to say, hey, we want to play 1920s style, and you don't have to really just pick one year from that. It can be an average of all those. So I like this. What do we got here? Good stuff. Usage. Same thing with the other games. You can start like baseball, you can set penalties for certain percentages of overuse, um, even in games. Injuries, fatigue meter, which is nice in the game when you're looking at that. Penalties, how those are done. The formations for that specific league file, right? You think about some of these formations that made sense in earlier years, some that don't in modern years. So you can pick and choose which ones are there. Quick play stuff, and then of course your display. This is a new change they've had. This is great. The football game used to have that weird, like more, it was wider than it was tall football image. Now they've gone to where I can change this, and I think it was this. So if we look at the pictures here, let's see, that's a little bit different. Let's set this up. It is this horizontal card. This is the way it used to default in football. So all of these cards, when you would look at the players, it would be wider, and it was a different format. Now you've got all kinds of options. I'd love to see them do this for baseball too. You can have different formats. I always keep hitting the wrong one. So when I go to rules, I can set. So there you got horizontal card, 1-in-1. This was the original. That's what it was. So I made my cards to fit the 1.1 to 1. Why they came up with that, I have no clue. So you'll see, here's Dallas. You can see the photos here. They're almost square, okay? A hair taller. But now what I like is you can follow the normal football card approach right here. Why am I always going there and not to the rules? Under rules, display. So now a normal football card, right? Or you could make it square. So this is just cool. I mean, it has all these different options. I'm hoping this continues because I do so much work with photos. This actually, I enjoy it. And so this will put them right into the normal format. I'm trying to think what else. It also football has where you can um, the mod tools and photo assignments, right? Where you can install a lot of the mods and save them. Historical colors. Everything else is pretty similar to what you'd see. Gameplay wise, I don't think I played one test game when I got this. I haven't done any gameplay with this. Um, this is cool right here. So action key. what do all the terms, because you'll see people on the forum sometimes say, what does this mean in the game? This is an actual key that they started including that shows what all the things in the game mean. And I believe maybe it's under the player. I think it's at the player level here. Let's look at Alvin Adams right here. So instead of having an overall for the game, you can, if you ever wonder what anything means, you just go down here at the bottom where it says ratings key, and you can pull this up right here. And it'll explain some of the ones that you may not know, right? Which is the Tendex and the effective, the player efficiency rating, all that good stuff. So this kind of gives you a little idea if there's some data down here and you didn't know what that meant. How many years pro? The cool thing with this is telling you how many years based on that year, because what they've done is, let's pick an Elgin Baylor here, modify it. When we modify Baylor, you can see you get nickname, all that good stuff, but it also gives you a spot to put what school they went to and what year they debuted. So then when you pull up their card, it bases that the year that they're built off of, and it, so this I'm using, what is it, 61, 62 Elgin, so it would be year 4 for him. That was just Seattle, the school he went to. So very similar for all the games, but there's still some uniqueness in how each game has its own, I guess, flavor to that stuff. Arnold says he took the football file and created a tournament, which he has not yet started. Nice. Chris, good question. On a replay league, use historical average or the decades. On a if I'm doing a straight season replay, you just leave it standard batter pitcher, and then it keeps them in the appropriate year, which is that year you're playing. Everything else, I've played around with it. Like when I did a test here with some of the basketball games the other day. Let me get out of here. I did historical. I've done it where it's the average of the players facing each other, and then I've done it cross era historical, and I've been pleasantly surprised with it. So it's just a matter of choice. You know what? One of them may be higher or lower in a certain style, meaning points per game or rebounds or field goal percentage, or, in baseball, it could be one approach is going to yield you a little bit higher batting average, which means it's a little more hitter friendly versus pitcher friendly, or power versus not power. So to me, it's just a matter of like, what kind of style do you want to play? I just wish we had decades broken down for baseball so we could play. I want to play 70s style, and it would take all the those 10 years and just average them, because that's what basketball gives me. That's why I think it's pretty cool. Um, let me pull up my 70s. I've got a basketball 70s grade file, and I'll probably, knowing me, I've got it set to this. Okay, here's 80s basketball. So these are all the, look at me. I've created these. Haven't even put any have any players in here yet. Maybe I got Philadelphia in here. So I hadn't finished the 80s project, but this would have been like the 80s team. And I would have come up here under rules, and I would have set the era blended offensive. But if I'm 80s, I'd select 80s, save it. So now it makes sense, right? I've got an 80s league. I'm going to run it in the 1980s average. Same thing with the 70s. Let's see if I've got my 1970. Where's it at? It's down here somewhere. 1970s franchise best right here. So this one was a complete project. So this is fun too. These are all the teams based on a player had to play at least 3 years or 2 in a partial one. And this was those 3 years, the best 3 in a row average. So here's Philadelphia in the 70s. See some of the usual suspects here with Julius Erving. And I know I have this set up to like a 1977, 78. I imported that schedule, and I'll guarantee you the rules. Oh, I don't have it set. I could run offensive defensive blend, which is going to average the players that are facing each other, or you can just set it to 70s. The other fun thing I did, and it was really cool, is for a basketball game. I'm so used to using percentages. I played a game the other day with, I set up two teams that I thought were evenly matched just to play, and I played the game with alternate reality on. And I thought, man, this would be fun because you can just look at the matchups and ratings. You don't get to see the actual under the hood in the engine percentages to help you figure out whether to take a shot or do that. So let me see if I can find what I named that. Oh, I called it something. Oh, I always have. I got to get better at this. Okay, test. Test. Draft test. So here's what we did. I think I have Chicago. Yeah, I set up two teams. I've got this Chicago Stars team here. And then I set up Detroit, the Detroit Wheels, and played a game with that on. And what's interesting is, let me see what my settings were on this one. So I used average historical era on this versus blended or picking a style because I've got players from all over. And I click this on alternate reality. So play analysis is disabled. So it's not going to give you that kind of peek into the engine, but I thought it was a blast. It was a blast. Why has Chicago got so many darn players on it? Anyway, I'll show you what it looks like we fire a game up here. Let me pick let me set this to a good stadium. What do we got for Detroit? Got half court. Let's go Palace. It's got to be the Palace. Oh no, let's do Silverdome. Okay, sign court graphic, go. So here's what it looks like. Let's play an exhibition game. Detroit, we got this Chicago team. The rest of these are all blank. See what it looked like. Oh yeah, midlife. It's definitely the forums are great because people there are always digging in deep and willing to help on that stuff. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna throw this on. I'll let Chicago go. And if you guys can hear the background, they're using the same one as baseball. This to me, we got to get some NBA background court specific. This is still a lot of the cuts that come right from the baseball game if you listen closely. All right, so the little gameplay of, yeah, we're over the limit. We're going to let it play. So this is how I've enjoyed playing so far. Let's get the announcements, all that good. There's so many options you can do. This is as big as I can get the cards to show up with the resolution I'm running on this widescreen. But I love how I have this set up where you can see the names on offense, the card photos show. You'll notice right here, I don't get a chance because I've got alternate reality on. I don't get a chance to see percentages here. I'm just getting to see the defense and who's on that player and their ratings. Their outside and inside defense ratings. If I go over here to the match, I can see who I've got matched up. Good stuff here. but I'm not going to get anything from the analysis, right? So if I go to tools analysis, I'm going to see an overall ratings here, just kind of a general theme of where these teams are, but I'm not getting any help in here. And I thought to myself, this is fun because in a league like this, it adds some variety, right? It's like, ooh, because players might get bumped up a little or down, and you don't know how it would. Yeah, here we go, Dodgers, Chris. It's like, come on. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Oh, Isaiah Collins the ball outside. Hey, I'm gonna see if I can get it over to Isaiah for a shot here. Oh, Richmond for the short jumper. Hardaway on the other side gets this one down. See what we got. Rips it away. Ooh. So Davis, I got Walter Davis starting out here. Oh, Richmond open for three. Let's see if he can pop one up. Because I do have the 3-point on. Oh, he drills it. Nice. Uh-oh. Weber into Vandeweghe. He gets a swish. Let's go right inside to Collins. Ooh, misses the layup. Weber on the box out. Has the rebound. Looks like they're on a fast break. And Weber takes it all the way in and dunks it. And now I'm down 6-3. So just a little, let's see, I got oh, look at this. Richmond got fouled a ton. One of the things you can get high drive ratings out of the people that get to the line a lot. Let's see if Richmond can beat Clyde Drexler off the dribble. Kicks it to Isaiah, back to Richmond. He pops it, drains it, and he gets the foul. Ooh, missed the free throw. Richmond with an offensive board. Isaiah Thomas, he's going to put it on the floor and drive. Into Buck Williams, back to Thomas, little floater, and he hits it. So, call a timeout here when I get a chance. So anyway, I'll speed this up, but let's go to Zoom. Now let's just set it on computer to computer and get it over with, see what happened in this game. 134 to 119. So the one thing I've noticed in playing with the historical average, with these loaded teams, all-star teams, they definitely, the style of play, you're seeing higher points, which makes sense because you got a lot of people with good field goal percentages, put up a lot of shots. But this was a fun game I played head-to-head. I think I saved the I think Isaiah Thomas in that game went crazy. In the game I played and had like 20 assists. So it's really cool. In fact, if I go look at, I think I saved it. So if you ever save your box scores, you can go into your seasons. And this is going to be three times great backup test. And I think I've got, this was my test game right here. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, Isaiah Thomas had 24 assists in this test game. And it was a good game, 144 to 135. A lot of scoring in it. It was a good game. And they shot over 62%, Chicago did. So very fun. So anyway, we've got this. So I'm going to close out of that. So having fun with the basketball game. Got to dig into the football game because now I want to take and do my best approach for all-time greats using the best 3 or 4 years, right, to match that, which means the projects never 100% get finished, and I just acquire new ones. So I got to do some work to get all of them wrapped up and done. What have I got here? So if you're talking about some college teams, I think earlier in the broadcast, was it Joe or Midlife was talking about trying to get up on those. And I've got some old ones here. Here's some from the 60s or 70s anyway here too. Here's NCAA 70s. Let's take a look. I haven't even opened this file in 15 years probably. Here's a bunch of old great teams from the 71 Michigan team. You know, a lot of work done by the homebrew community on some of these old college teams. So definitely, if you don't have football, it's on sale, and all the seasons are on sale, and there's tons of homebrew old NCAA stuff out there. But I'm trying to think if I had 1980s franchise best. Let's take a look at that. This is where you'll see a stacked San Francisco team with Montana and Young, Jerry Rice. So a lot of work, 60 plus players, because these are deep teams when you're talking about everybody in that decade, right? Pretty loaded teams. Here's Raiders. So these were some fun projects that I did. So those are all ready to go. I guess I could load those up if anybody doesn't have them. Get those on my media fire site. So just thought I walked through some stuff. Anybody got any questions on stuff they want to see? Somebody did mention about setting up a draft league, how hard it would be. Let me pull up baseball and just show you how easy it is to set up a draft league. It's this easy. You go to utilities, create blank league, or which means blank. Literally, there's no teams, there's no players. Okay. Or do I want to create a new draft league? And if I go this option, it's going to give me options to import team names and players, pools that I want to draw the players from. So there's two options to go. So if I go blank league, it's going to be completely blank. And then you can name the teams whatever you want, and then manually start importing players or set up a draft with whatever teams. It's really that easy. So let's hit create blank. We'll call it the blank test league, create folder. There I go. There's nothing in it. It's really blank. MV, which game are you talking about? Football? Uh, and you'll notice rosters, no team. Now what can I do? I go up to teams, create them. And it's going to say pick what division and tell me how many teams I want to create. And then I could start just creating blank teams and then filling them. So this is literally a blank league. Start from scratch. Do anything I want. And I could add a team. Create new teams. Okay, I want to add Division 1. I want to have 4 teams. Division 2, 4 teams. Division 4 teams. So there's the first 4 divisions, 4 teams. Create. There they are. So then I can go in here, like if I want to create one from scratch, and I can just start, I can name them differently, or if I actually want to go in here and hit modify teams, I can scroll down this way. So I could go into each one of these teams and, you know, Atlanta, don't have to give it that, you know, team 2 is, you know, Memphis. I can assign what year, what park I want, all that good stuff. So you can see right here. Now I've got Atlanta and Memphis. So it's that easy. I mean, you want to go blank, it's a clean slate. And then you can just start adding teams, renaming them, changing colors, do everything. Oh, let's show head to head again. Let's do it. Head to head. I will show you exactly what we need to do. But yeah, if you want to create a blank league, this is easy. Now, when you get to, let's see, I love having computer make their own players. I want to recreate the Butler YMC Rec League. I want to do a series that simulates Beer League wannabes. Here's the cool thing. Let's go to that team. Check this out. So let's pull up Atlanta. create players. So I can create a player, right? So let's say, so I've created a player. So I could create as many as I want. And now if I wanted to go under here and modify this player, let's go to modify it. I can put in information, right? So I could say, I'll just call it Joe Smith for my rec, if you're doing a rec league, right? So there you go. That's right. That's right. He's 22. Put him in 2022, right? Whatever. Do anything I want with this player. 5'11", 170. Okay, now I can save it. Now, when I right click on it, let's go right over here. See the best way. Edit player stats, real. And now it brings this up, right? So let's say I don't have the stats. This will reverse it for you. So the cool thing is you come down here to say, I want to create it on his real stats. So let's say he played in a season. There was 40 games in the league or whatever, right? 40 games in the rec league. Is he a starter? Yeah, he started 80% of the time. What average did he hit? I think he was right around um, 310 hitter. Has he got power? Yeah, he's a little above average, right? Speed average, walks, strikeouts, average, minus, walks, doesn't really walk. Okay, fielding. What was he? Is it first baseman? What kind of range? He's pretty good first baseman. And he also played a little bit of third, and he was terrible. So he's a 2 over at third, right? So now I've just said that. That's my rec league. I know Joe Smith, and then I go right here, create batting stats, create fielding stats. Save, and now that's how you'd create your YMCA league. So it's cool, right? It's like I do a lot of stuff because I have the data. This is cool if you don't have it all, right? And you want to fill in. So we didn't have all of that information. So let's see what they came up with him. So I said he was a little above average hitter. So in the 40 games, right? Going to hit 10 home runs and 143 at bats. Gives you some RBIs, no stolen bases. All right, fielding, 10 games at first, did some average put out. So the game is really cool at generating some of that. So to me, if you've got like a fun league or a high school league and you don't have all of it, the game will do stats for you. So that's fun. There's no way, I don't know if you can create like 20 at a time though. I think players, create player. I haven't looked to see, I don't think there is a way to like create 20 players. Maybe. No, you know what? I've never found that. So again, you could just go one player at a time and create them, right? And just come in here and change the name. Yeah, you can make Andy Jones a switch hitter, ground ball plus batter, 21. Yeah. So yeah, create anything you want, and that's why I love this game engine because it lets me do all my cool what ifs. In the create new league, bam, what do we got? Okay. Oh, assign substitute for any. Create fictional players for this league. That is awesome. And that gives you the starting point. So let's try that. We'll call it a fictional test. I've never done this. Let's put them in 1995. 2 divisions. 6 teams in a division, random cities, say 12, right? Mixed positions, veteran rookie mix. And we're going to put, so 12 times 12, we got the 144, 150. Let's just make it let's 200. Computer can generate the schedule. Fictional test, let's do it. See what we come up with. I've never done this. Christopher Slovic is turning me on to a new feature. I've never really got a kick out of fictional, but you could do it with the game. It'd be a great starting point to just get the players created and go back and edit the names, like if it was a rec league or a high school league. Let's take a look what we got. So yeah. Oh, nice. Tenny Studdard, Clinton Williams, Lance Nizwaka. That's cool. And it's giving you a blend. Pretty cool stuff, Mr. Slovic. Yes, they can be replicated with the proper AI. Let's take a look at who's the big dog is Ezekiel here for San Diego. Really cool. Yeah, so they've hard coded this in for a fictional test. That'd be a fun way to start, and then you could just go in there and edit the actual players on the team. So we go in and edit. It's cool. And then if you want, there's the real stats of the game. If you want to edit their stats from here, you can just click on Allow Stat Editing, and you can add their real stuff right there. Otherwise, the place to do it is to go up to Player or a Team, Edit, and there you can edit the player stats, the raw stats. The other thing you can do here is edit their positions, which is just a matter of going like you can add some. You just click on it and it'll roll through point guard, shooting guard, small forward. You just keep clicking and it rotates. So you can make him. You can put in some secondary positions over here for him, or things like that. Hit computer depth. There it starts creating your good stuff. The other thing you can do is general information if you want to edit. This is another screen. So you can right click and modify a player by player, or you could come into categories and modify uniform numbers here, height, weight, that kind of stuff. And then the other thing you can do right here is default ratings. This will, you see how well it did on the ratings for dunk. Sometimes that's tough. Oh, it did great. So it's giving you a variation here of it created the ratings with them. So, this is the percentage of how many times they'll try to dunk or whatever. You got one to, some of these point guards are never going to try to dunk. Real inside play percentage, how much time they're posting up inside position, man-to-man defense. Yeah, it does a great job. Cool. Not sure I care for all these pastel looking colors, but what the heck. A new project for Mr. Slovic. Yeah. Yeah, like semi-pro, half comedy. What was envy? Oh, head-to-head envy. So check this out. Here's what you want to do head-to-head. Go to the action. So in the game, it takes you to internet. And it says right here, action, forum, internet, play tips. This is where you want to go. Pull that up, and it pulls up right here. And what it does is it pulls up a thread that explains it. And as you can see through here, I think this is, okay, I got a better one. This is the whole idea how to free up your ports and all that stuff. Way too complicated for me. So here's what we do. Go to do internet, and we're going to, where is it? Oh, I'm in the wrong game. What an idiot. Let's go this one right here. So we're going to go internet and free log me in Hamachi's networks. So we're going to go right here to this one. And if you don't have Hamachi, you can download Hamachi. And what DK Sports has done is they've set up their own lobby where you can meet. So I have Hamachi right here. So when you download Hamachi, let me make it bigger. Here you go. I'm offline. Let me go online now. And there we are. And you'll notice I'm in this lobby right here called DK Star. So when you get into, you download Hamachi, and all it does is let you set up a direct VPN so that you can play. I don't know if this one was used at one point, the DKS Open lobby. It doesn't seem to be active. So what you want to do is when you get into Hamachi, you go in and look for this lobby, DKS Star lobby, and then it'll ask you for this network ID and the password is DKS. And what that means is when you fire up Hamachi, you can see, well, there's a couple active people in here. I know this laptop SDB B cut 11. This laptop is Beatles. I just know what that's him. You can see I'm my office. So let's go under my office. Oh, there I am. Steve desktop in there. And what you would do is whoever, once the other person's in there, you'll see their direct tunnel, meaning like if this person's green, like if MV, when you came in there, whatever you're called or whatever, if I see your direct tunnel, that's the IP address I'm going to use. So if I'm going to host the game, once we're connected there, I go up to internet and I say host game and I wait and I would tell you what my direct tunnel is, what my IP address is here, right? So for me, you can see here, I'm 25.75.174.194. So if I'm hosting, the other person types this in, and then I get a bang, 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 a knock, and then I accept the call. Whoever the host is, that host, in fact, MV, if you download Hamachi, let me know. Yeah, and then you just let the host give, the host gives that IP address, the host hits accept. And remember, the host only has to have the file. You don't have to have the same file. Everything stems from the host. Meaning, if I go in there to host, it'll show we're connected. It would show we're connected like up here at the top, like you've seen Beatles and I do. And then I go and pick the season and we can play from that file. So definitely, if you've got any tips or want to fire it up or play with Big Clue or test out, let me know. But it works great. The key is all of those stupid firewalls we have are a pain in the butt, and that's why Hamachi is the way to roll. Just go into Hamachi, sign up for this, or log into this DK Star with this information, ID and password, and then you always can meet each other in that lobby and have direct connections with each other. And if you don't know how to get here, you just fire up the game. Hit internet, hit free log me in Hamachi networks, and you can get right to this page. Again, I don't think this DKS open lobby is active anymore, but this DKS star lobby is. And I think, let's pull up football. Internet, and I believe it's the same here for football. We should be able to, once I go to host, as long as we're in the lobby right here, as long as we're in this, it doesn't matter what game, we can hook up easily as long as we're in the same lobby and the host gives that IP address or the one connecting can see their IP address here at Hamachi, you're good. So as long as I'm the host and you can see this number up here, you type it in, we could play whatever game, which is nice and convenient. Because if you haven't played head to head, the games are good. Football head to head's a blast. So is baseball. Basketball, is too, but it can seem long, especially, with a lot of the decisions. I've done basketball head to head, and the games can take a while because you're going like possession and pass by that, and if both people are a little slower, the analyzing it can really bog down. Football, it is what it is, play by play, batter, pitcher, batter, pitcher, batter. Basketball, it's a little more fluid, so to me it feels a little bit slower head to head. But yeah, I haven't. Have to do a little when football season starts up in another month or so. I'll get back into the football game and just play around with some of the gameplay. Another rabbit hole. Yes, it does. Because I know, MV, you think, and I don't blame you, you're a very positive person, that you could outperform what that computer manager did with those Manchester Red Bolts. I know. That's why you want to take the helm and manage head to head. I know. Oh yeah, Hamachi is the ticket because what Hamachi does is it just sets the direct tunnel up. You don't have to worry about getting through your firewalls or anything. You're already there. It's a virtual private network for yourself, and there you go. It's a matter of just seeing who's green. And when you're on, like if I want to shut that off, I'm offline, right? But if I'm going to play, me and Beatles, we're going to play. I'm like, oh, let me get on here. Boom! I just hit my power button, and it's free. Log me in Hamachi. It's free to set up, and then you just turn it on, and then you go to your network and you join. You go right here, join existing network, and this is what you do. You type in this one, 398-463-166, and then lowercase dks. That's exactly what you do when both of you download Hamachi, and then you hit join. I'm already a member. Okay, it knows that. But those are the steps that you both would follow, and then you can both get into this DK Sports Star lobby, and then you can play head to head all you want. And they even have a link right here to go get the Hamachi. And again, if nobody, I'm going to have to, let me drop this over here. I think, so what we had open today. So anybody looking to, that wants a good sale, vintage season starting at $4, regular season 786 or less, decades $48, and the 2023 football game is on sale. Take a look at some of these. Yeah, this is a heck of a sale. So right here, you could get the game. Let's figure this out. If you wanted to do a decade, right? You could buy the game. So it's $48 for the 1980s, let's say. And the game, let's see the past season. So you could buy the game for $71 and you get 2012 to 2021 comes with those seasons, right? 95, 77, 75 football, 58 and 28, okay? The reason I say that is there's no 1980s here, so there's no repeat. So you get this deluxe one that has all these seasons, $71, okay? Plus the decade of the 80s. How much was that? 48? Football decades. Yeah, 48. That's $119. And since you spent over 100, that's 20% off. So that's $24 off. 119 minus 24, and you're going to be able to buy it for $95. You could have the game. And how many total seasons is that? 10 football, 22, that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 seasons plus all of the 80s. You could get 25 seasons plus some college seasons and some all-time great stuff for that price, because you get 20% if you spend over 100. So that's a hell of a deal. And if you didn't want some of these seasons, then you could really go down to the next level, which is right here, which I think might even be better for me. You can pinpoint it. You go $44 and you're going to get these seasons 2022 if you don't care about the newer ones, and then maybe you load up on 2 different decades. So you get all the 60s and 70s, or all the 80s and 90s in there, or whatever, 50s and 60s for $90, and you spend 130 with this package, and then you get 20% off that. So there's $26. So you spend, it's just a great way. To me, these sales are a great way if you haven't got a game, and then to load up on a ton of seasons for a discounted price. And I don't know if they have any of the specialty seasons, so special collections. Oh, those are, look here, those are on sale. So then you could come here and say, get the pro football's top 144 teams from 1970 to 2011. And then you can get the top 144 teams pre 1970. So for $28, you can just get some really cool, great teams specials right here. Pro football history collection. Again, that's every player for $48. Every player in football history that's retired. Every one, just like the baseball history. Great for projects. Franchise All Stars download. You can get that. So the franchise best for each of those. So tons of stuff. I mean, just great, great when these sales. And you know what? They've been having sales almost like at least once, if not twice a month, different sales. World's Worst Gamer says no to F-ball. Still. Wow. Yeah. So if anybody wants to take advantage of the sale, it's on now. I appreciate everybody coming in. I know we had Chris came in here, Slovak, and gave us a good tip on basketball with the fictional players. Let me see if the other games have it. I haven't hired up hockey yet, but if I want to utilities create a blank league, do I get to do 2 divisions, 4 teams, each division? Let's go 2001. Call it test, create a folder. Test is created. So now I'm in my test. What can I do here? I'll have to look that up and see if I can create fictional players. We know we can do it with easily with basketball. I just don't know if it's something we can do with football because I've never looked for it. Yeah, interesting. If I go into each team, I can create player by player just like baseball. Boom. And I have to create a player one by one. So I don't see anything. Maybe I'm missing something that somebody knows where I could come in here and have it generate a bunch of fictional players, but I don't see that. I've never tried to use that option for anything. I didn't even know basketball game would have let you do it. So now I'm going to dig around a little bit more. So yeah, now I can dig around with more of the, see, make sure I got the latest here. Let me fire up hockey. I have got hockey going on the new PC. Um, Utilities, create new blank league, test. Let's put it in 1987, 2 divisions, 6 teams in each division, create league. Um, mhm. Go to teams. Go to create a player. Yeah, very similar to. It reminds me very similar to football because I created several players for my all-time franchise or my 5-year franchise. I did like 4 or 5 teams with hockey, and that came out pretty good actually. So, oh, good. MV saying he will be doing some cool stuff tonight, a little soccer and a return to dice, and he's showing off a game using Excel. So, everybody check that one out. Yeah, I like Big Clues. Like, it's a nice feature, but I'm not using it. There's many like that. I feel the same way too. But it is nice that they provide um, options on some of that. All right. Cool. Well, I'm gonna call it a day. It's been fun going over some stuff, but yeah, Clue and MV, definitely test out the Hamachi. Ping me anytime. I'm happy to hop on there and test it out with you as well, and fire up a game. And there's a few little things that Beatles and I learned through there to get like the pictures to show right. And that was making sure that the two teams you were using all came from the same file. In other words, not having like the home team pick a team and then having to go to a different season file for the visiting team, if that makes sense. When we played the teams from the exact same file that was loaded, all the photos and logos and everything matched up good. But we did notice like photos and logos not working for one of the teams if we were head to head and the host grabbed two teams from two different season files. So that's why when we would play some of the ones from like an AL all-time franchise or the NL, I would just import them into a file that we would use for head-to-head play. So, but as usual, it's been fun. Hopefully, we've provided some tips that helped out, and I've learned a few along the way here, thanks to those that were here. Big Clue, Christopher Slovic, Midlife Crisis was here, World's Worst Gamer, um, MV, of course, we can't forget MV, right? Joe Murdy was here. Oh, and Joe's got a question there. See if I can answer it before I get out of here. Dwayne Martz was here. Arnold Hunter, Legend Sports Universe. Check out his replay as it's getting ready to enter postseason. So let's see what MV said or Joe Murdy said back there. I have another game I've been in for a good while that has all the seasons. I'm at the point with that now where I have the players, but the players are all DH positioned and can't find. Let me tell you one thing about if you've got one thing I can tell you. Let's take a look at this team if we've got it, right? If you ever see DH only, so I'll import a player or two here. Patsy Doherty, import. Okay, so I got one player here on my team, right? Now here's one thing I'll notice. I brought him in. Now here's what I'll do a lot. I'll edit it. So let's go in and use Memphis. And let's say I want to edit his batting. Edit real. I want to clear this. This is what I love. Clear it. No batting stats, right? Now, did he pitch? No, he didn't pitch. But let's look at fielding. He came in with the 1900 whatever season, right? So he's going to have fielding stats right here. He's going to have left field stats, and then he's going to have arm rating. I clear fielding statistics. He shows DH. Anytime you got a player showing DH, they don't have any fielding data. Now they could have fielding range. So let's go into him and do this. Okay. He's got no fielding, but let's say I want to make him third base a 6. Okay. He's rated a 6 range at third base. But guess what? He still shows a DH. Why? Because you've got to do one thing. you have to go in. You can do it two ways. You can edit his fielding here. If you edit it here, you just have to scroll all the different positions to put in that data, right? Or I can right click on him, edit his player stats reel, and then I can go over here. See, he's a 6 at third base, and I can say, oh no, I forgot to put his games in. 110 games at third, um, 110 putouts, 234 assists, made 14 errors, 8 double play, whatever. Okay. And there's his range rating. I hit save. Guess what? Now he's a third baseman. They will not show you a position unless there's actual fielding data there, even if you've got a range. So if you've got people showing up as DH, that's the key. Now, if you've got a real DH, who's a real DH? Let's import a player for here. Let's import, how about 1990, Baltimore. I don't know. Let's find somebody here. Greg Walker. Now he's a DH, but we look at him with his real. We can do it a couple ways. We click on it right here. No fielding. So all he either did was in 14 games pinch hit, or he played DH, meaning he has no fielding information. So him showing DH is good. But if you've got position players, they must have fielding data, not just ranges, or they will show DH. So hopefully that helps. I know there was a question on the forums about DH, and I think that might have been what Joe was talking about. So with that, I'm going to say have a good rest of your Monday. Hopefully I'll come on maybe later this week or weekend if anybody's got any more questions, or who knows, maybe MV and Big Clue get the head-to-head fired up, and MV does a head-to-head broadcast with Big Clue. That would be fun to watch. So I'll keep my eyes out for that. And it's been a great afternoon here so far. I learned some stuff along the way. So we will see you all down the road in all your action gaming.